How long after release are we expecting rank to be added, brother? We want it. You know we want it. It might be there at release. I don't know. We've got some core functions to get done first. Um, yeah, we have recently hired a network programmer that's going to help us. I have very little idea of how quickly we're able to get through features with this new hire and with our team. So I have no clue right now. It is a giant black box, but it's on the list and something where I have on the list before launch. Will that happen? I don't know. So I have an idea how long things are going to take. And as I scream to the team every Friday, online and getting the game feeling really good online in that loop to feel really good is the number one priority for this team right now until release. So we want it.
Yeah, so the stipulation there is like that the stretch goal was for ranked on launch. We are definitely
Did
gonna
not
have
get it.
ranked mode at some point. Yeah, we didn't
Mm-hmm.
hit that was like a much higher goal. Engineers are quite expensive, but we were able to hire some new engineers. And I think we'll probably make a Kickstarter update soon and just announce that we were able to do that. That was like one of our immediate goals with Kickstarter funds. But but yeah, so it's not guaranteed at launch, but it's something we're working to, and if we can pull it off, we'll definitely do it.
Yeah, and to follow up on that, to George's point, I think we will do a Kickstarter update for it, but I'm going to share it now. So we had 5 engineer positions that we were looking towards as part of the Kickstarter. We ended up hiring 2 of those, at the network one, and then like a kind of a graphics and optimization role. So there was like there was generalists, like a Unreal generalist roles. We definitely still want those people, but kind of because of where we're at. And if you saw, even just letting people go, obviously we are not just budget conscious, but making sure like we can afford to get the game out. We might be hiring more, but those are the 2 that we knew we absolutely needed, kind of to start this year to get the game out. So if you are interested in applying, or people want to apply, still check out the site, see what jobs are up. But we did pull the trigger on getting 2 positions that we felt were like the most kind of the most important that we were lacking going into this year.
Yeah, I just want to jump in and say too that anyone on our team that you see the question you want to answer, just jump in with it. I've got one pulled out that I see asked a lot. Will Rivals 1 skins like Summit skins in Arcade, etc., be in Rivals 2? And are they gonna transfer over? Like, how's that gonna work? Gets asked a lot.
Yeah, no, it's a great question. I'll answer it. So we're not planning like any direct transfer right now, right? So it's not like we're gonna rebuild all of the Rivals 1 skins in Rivals 2 and you like automatically get them. Now that being said, there might be some skins, that are similar, right? Like Tuxedo Rano, for example. We're basically just doing like a fancy Rano skin where he's in a tux. So it's not like the same exact skin as Rivals 1, but definitely inspired by it. I do want to do some kind of connection eventually. I don't know exactly what that would be, but the way PlayFab works is we basically now they let you set up your game studio. So right now we have Creatures, which Taco Boy Studios built, with PlayFab as the back end, and we have Rivals 2. We have like an empty one for Rivals 1. So I would love to basically at some point go in and let players kind of just link their Rivals 1 account to it and just kind of we'd get like, it would just share whatever, skins and stuff you have. It might not be like any skins crossover, but maybe we could do something where if you have certain skins, I don't know, you get like an icon, or you get like I'm an OG or something. That obviously is going to require engineers to do that. So it's not something that we currently have tasked out.
Will not be available at launch.
No, yeah, I don't think we're going to do any crossover at launch, but it is a way that we know we can. Just imagine like you go into Rivals 1 and deep in the options, there's just like a button to link your account to your Aether Studios account. That's kind of how we envision it. But there isn't going to be like, it's not like every single champion skin or anything like that is going to cross over. They're going to have like their own skins, which are separate. And then even skins in Rivals 2 are going to work differently than Rivals 1, because Rivals 1, it was all Steam DLC. So all the you either bought it off Steam or you had a DLC code, a Steam one to type in. Rivals 2 is all going to be, have its Aether Studios accounts with your own inventory system. So it's all going to be through PlayFab. So very similar to if you played Creatures of Aether, like kind of how you add the cards and stuff. That will be a little different, right? So it's not like they're using like the same tech either.
Next question. How do you want to do this, George?
If you guys don't have any, I'm thinking if you guys see one that's like in your expertise that you want to grab and just like queue up to be after the next person's talking. If you guys don't see anything, I'll just keep pulling them out of the chat. So
Okay.
I've got
I saw
one.
a question
Oh, go
about
ahead.
South Africa servers. Person's been messaging it a lot. Appreciate that. Probably not for the first beta. Our first beta is likely going to be only North American servers. That's what we're thinking right now, just so we can have a better understanding of what's breaking and all that. Our plan is to roll out more servers internationally, Europe, Asia Pacific, wherever. Probably maybe a South American server. We know we have PlayFab servers there. Follow our Twitter. That will be where you will get the info on where we will have servers when those betas come up. I would expect it to be in the second or third beta rollout. So the plan is we're going to be doing weekend beta test for our online servers all through Q2. And yeah, so thanks for asking.
Trevor, why was Drift DI removed? This question
Bad.
has been asked.
Oh my god. Mostly because what was it? I remember there was a very specific reason. But basically all it does is it makes it to where you have, so I guess I could explain what Drift DI is just in case there's anyone else here who doesn't know. Drift DI is when you're in knockback, you can hold sideways to drift sideways. What this does is it makes combos a lot harder to like react to. You kind of have to predict more. It also lessens the impact of DI since you can kind of adjust after the fact. It really just wasn't necessary for what we were making. A lot of our combat mechanics are a little bit different from Rivals 1. We have more defensive mechanics, so we don't need that extra defensive mechanic on top of, shields and all that. Also, Drifty Eyes suck.
Well, I mean, I, as the person who put in the game, like Drifty Eye, also in the code, I'm pretty sure it's still in the code called noob_DI. And that's because when I first started the game, I had a bunch of different versions, like different DI things that you could have. Yeah, I think there was two. One was like throws. If the point of the throw is, as Trevor mentioned, a DI mix-up, then if you can still drift out of it, even though you got mixed up, that doesn't feel great. So that was like one kind of miniature example of why we were looking at it. And then the other thing too, that kind of, even though I think Drift DI was called New DI because it is pretty intuitive, unfortunately, like the way you use it optimally, it starts to be, it becomes like harder even than like in some cases than Smash, because your best DI sometimes is like ASDI down, DI left, drift right, like all in quick succession, and like to get optimal it's like pretty quick. So it was kind of simplifying it, and like and also just knockdown too, adding knockdown in other systems. Like the combo game and the punish game is completely different, so like we looked at it as building it from the ground up rather than like each feature from Rivals. We definitely investigated, even things like hit falling, and then even too like when we were going into like ledges and stuff as well. It wasn't like we were at the very beginning saying like all of this stuff needs to be in or none of this stuff needs to be in. We looked at what we were building and said, okay, what are the things that we want to do and what's going to work together well. And Drifty Eye did not make the cut.
I'm seeing a lot of questions about what features are going to be available during the beta, and like, are we going to be able to play locally? Are we going to be able to play locally after the beta ends? Are we going to be able to do friends invite? We're talking about this internally now. We have a lot of different options. We just got to see how things go. Friend invites is obviously on the feature list. We're trying to get to it. We got Genesis like staring us right in the face right now, so we're gonna make a local build for that. And we have an online test planned before a online test internally for our team before Genesis. So it's not like we're just oh, we'll get to it later. No, like we're working towards this beta right now. And yeah, it's just how quickly we move and what we can promise. So stay tuned. Probably in March or soon after Genesis, we're gonna have a better idea of what we can say is going to be in the beta and how it's going to work. So yeah, stay tuned. We're gonna try to get as much in as we can because that's testing that we get from you all, which we are going to really appreciate, but we also don't want to put out a buggy mess that is hard to navigate. So the plan for the beta is to progressively get more features online and to test those things. So if say the local play is not available on the first beta, okay, well we're maybe try to get that on the next one. Or hey, I want to be able to invite my friends and play on this select server or something like that. We're gonna hear from you. We're gonna try to get those features added, but yeah, stay tuned and we'll have a good idea of what the beta is going to be probably late February, early March.
Yeah, and then also to the Matt's point, there will be some stuff that will for the first beta it might be close to on our side, but we're like turning it off for the first one. So then we can focus on the things we want tested, and then we turn it on for a later beta. So yeah, our goal is like each time the beta comes back, there should be more stuff to test, whether that's friendly lobbies or matchmaking, local play, practice mode. Ideally, each time it comes back, there's something else to test.
Our number one thing right now is to just test the core gameplay loop. You hit a button that takes you to an online match, you play, you get back, you do it again. So as soon as we got that going, that might just be it for beta. I promise that. And then from there, we'll see.
I see a couple Kickstarter questions that I think we kind of have addressed on Kickstarter Q&A, but I'll just run through them real quick. Some people are asking about how will I get my name in the credits that I want on there. We're going to send out a survey. This is pretty common if you've never backed before. This might be new, but you'll get a survey pretty soon, actually. That will ask that, like it'll ask, hey, how would you want your name displayed in the credits? It'll ask for your address, so get information, any upgrades you want to make, things like that, and we'll just collect this information and we'll use it as we start fulfilling stuff through the year. People asked if the physical rewards are going to get here before or after the game, and a lot of them are tied to the game itself. You're like, along with those rewards, you're getting Rivals 2 DLC and all that stuff. So even if like the boxed game, physical game starts shipping like right before the game comes out, I don't think anything will really arrive that's tied to the game Rivals 2 itself until Rivals 2 is out. So like we can't give you the game with the box art before the game comes out if we haven't done the box art yet, so that'll all be towards the end of the year.
See a lot of people asking about tetherball. Tetherball will not be available on release. We intend to have many game modes in Rivals 2. It will keep Trevor happy and busy, but that is not planned for release, and depending on how launch goes, how on fire everybody is, and just maintaining the game, we will commit or not commit to that. But the intent is to have a new game mode hopefully every year. That might be less depending on how development goes. It's something that's on my list, something I'm tracking, but something that I have certainly cut from release, and we'll see after. More important than tetherball would probably be doing modes that help new players to the game. What we have available for players and if that is sufficient for those players is a work in progress. So do we want to add to that? Do we feel it's sufficient? That's going to be the determining factor in which we hit the trigger on tetherball and other game modes. Yeah. Do we want tetherball to be the first game mode in Rivals 2?
So there's a problem with tether mode in Rivals 2 if we wanted to add it. The ball moves in like a 3D space, and in Rivals 1 that's fine because it's 2D. so you could hit it even if it was like way far in the foreground or background. How do you do that in 3D?
Make it 2D.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Fake it till you make it. Yeah, that's interesting. I think you would probably project its hitbox onto the gameplay plane.
Tetherball is now what is it? Table hockey. What's it called? Hover hockey.
All right,
Air hockey.
I just
Air
started
hockey.
a poll
That's it. Air hockey.
that asks it should be the first feature.
Foosball.
The first feature. Should we stop what we're doing?
No. Okay,
and
spoilers.
become a tetherball game.
Darn, I was
That's
gonna
the
wait until they
question.
all said yes, and then I was like, cool, like ranks canceled, like everything else.
Yeah.
I was
Up
gonna
the platform fighter.
bait and switch 'em.
Competitive tetherball is what the people want.
Oh, they're
You know,
voting
I
yes
think-
right
I
now.
think- Yeah, I think we could find another ball mode that'd be more fun in 3D. Probably.
I think tetherball could work. You could even still have it be a 3D model that's going like into the foreground, and then just make sure the circle gets placed.
You'd need a orthographic camera too.
Why? Oh, so it feels like you're hitting it. You mean? Oh, I get. Yeah, you're right.
Well,
Uh,
just the point of this discussion is
That
we'd
hurts
like
my
to do
brain.
some modes like this, guys, but we really have a lot of other stuff that's more important.
You're right.
I
It
think
resulted in
it's more
to
important to
our
everyone,
feeling.
us and you guys.
Maybe. Anyway, yeah. Well,
And this is where Tetherball is at the moment. Thanks for the question.
and I will say, so Trevor's points bring up a good example of how everything works when we're doing stuff. So like every mechanic kind of goes through this. It's like, wait, how is that going to work with this? Like, how is tether going to work with shield, or how is all kinds of things. So even tetherball, you're like, oh, wait a second. I did see a question about spectating coming up earlier, but kind of went away, but I do want to address it. So people are like, somebody worded it very nicely, which was, will spectating actually function this time around? Great question. Yeah, Rivals 1, it came late. It doesn't work if the spectators, the hosts, still to this day, we were never able to really fix that. But so in the way the foundation we're laying, obviously spectating should be much more viable, right? It is a server-based game, which means the match is happening on the server. You could, have a bunch of people, a bunch of different people spectating it. It's not going to affect performance of anyone else, anything like that. But at the same time, we haven't, ourselves, we moved to SnapNet. Basically, all of 2023 was moving to it. So we haven't done, spectating tests and things like that yet. And kind of the UI either, right? Because when you have spectators, you want to make sure that, they know, hey, I'm not in the match, I'm spectating. So we haven't done that UI work. So in terms of betas, I would say don't expect spectating to be like fully featured in the first betas that we're doing. But I would say, yes, we should have some form of spectating by Steam launch. And yes, it should be a lot more functional. It should be, for our goal, we're still going to have replays, right? And that's a way that people can do, content and tournaments and streams. But our goal is to have spectating be a more viable way to do online events this time around. We just haven't, been able to put time into the actual UX of it and then the testing of it yet either.
Yeah, just the server infrastructure in general just lends itself to it a lot better too. So
Right. So like a lot of things, like the foundation is a lot better this time, but we just haven't had the resources to really make it next level.
I've got
I see a couple questions.
Oh,
Okay.
you go ahead first.
About system requirements for Rivals 2. So the two hires that Dan mentioned, one was network programmer, and the other was graphics programmer. That graphics programmer is going to be investigating this. We can say that throughout Rivals 2 development, our goal was to make this a very optimized game and very, not resource intensive game for players to have to work through. We want to be available on a wide swath of platforms.
Steam Deck,
because-
low end PCs, basically everything.
Exactly.
Or low end
Yeah,
PCs. PCs.
So it should be a pretty low minimum requirements, but we cannot say anything for certain until we've had this developer go through and really do those tests and confirm that things run smoothly on those low end machines, and then probably do optimizations after that to help that performance. So
I
that
think it'll be a big part of
information will
beta
be,
too.
yeah,
We'll
yeah.
be seeing how it performs on a wider variety of machines, because our dev team, we only have, as many computers as we have developers. I'll just be forthright and say on our team, I kind of have like the lowest spec in that I tried to build my computer, like my graphics card, to be around, average right now. It's like a 3070. So when I play online right now, like I am under 60. So one of the immediate things we're doing right now is, hey, like at these specs, if this is average, then like let's make sure we're profiling it, figuring out what are all the hangups, and making sure everything is purposeful, right? So like we're getting my machine up, and that's gonna be part of the betas as well. I think when we go on beta, we're gonna find, hey, I use this AMD card, or I have integrated graphics, I have this CPU, this is what I'm running. And then what information can you send to us, so we can kind of analyze, hey, what's the bottlenecks on all of these hardwares? Because as a PC game, it's going to be, there's so many different setups. Rivals 1, we benefited from, being in Game Maker. We did have stuff that was like Eliana Steam, for example, is very demanding on like a CPU. But it wasn't quite the same as like a 3D game. So we're going to have to do more work with the community. But we also just have to do stuff on our end as well. So even to get to our first beta, there's a lot of work that, as Matt mentioned, our new hire is going to be doing to get that medium, spec feeling great, and then go from there. Like, what kind of improvements can we keep delivering? What kind of settings to make it even better?
Details on what our expected min spec is will be released before launch. So follow our Twitter account. Or
Put that
X
on Steam
account
as well and all that good stuff. Trevor,
and sorry, I said 3070 average. Sorry, I have a 1080 in this one. 3070 is what our PAX machines were, which I had just we were just talking about for something else. So the machines we had at PAX were 1070s, and then my actual computer, the one I'm talking to you right now on, is a 1080.
That makes sense.
People were like, average 3070, I'm screwed.
Yeah, I have SLI, like
3070 is not our average. 3070 is like our what we're using for locals. If we can hit that or better, that's what we've been targeting for, like, hey, so that's what we ended up putting in, like I said, for our PAX machine. And obviously that's a good graphics card.
Trevor, there's a lot of questions about keyboard. Just so if you could explain a little about your philosophy about the different controller types in Rivals 2. Are there plans to make it like as good as other leverless stuff? Can you play it like Rivals 1?
So so far we haven't done any like leverless or box testing, aside from just people who brought their boxes to either PAX or Heatwave or something. And yeah, so far people have said it works, which is good. Our goal is to make it work how the players of those controllers expect it to, whatever that means. I don't play on those controllers, so we'll have to get somebody in who does. But yeah, we plan on having keyboard function basically like a box would, essentially. And then I saw a question about multi-keyboard too, and we are hoping to have that. Yeah. It's not the same setup as Rivals 1, so we're hoping it's a lot easier to implement.
Yeah, I saw someone also ask too, when we were bringing up graphics cards, like, what are we doing so graphics heavy? Right now we're improving both CPU and kind of GPU. When it comes to right now on my machine, how I mentioned how we're running under, it's mostly CPU that we're working on currently, because just the way any rollback game works, you're doing a lot of calculations. You're doing basically multiple frames, and then also just every object you have that can affect gameplay. So any kind of entity that needs to be tracked and rolled back, part of the game state, that all is adding up. So that's kind of like the optimization when you're making any game that has rollback, is just making sure all of those calculations are kind of as cheap as possible, and those objects are as cheap as possible. So there is graphics optimization we're going to be doing But yeah, because we're a fighting game, that's ideally easier, right? There's not, we don't have an insanely huge world that we're displaying. We have a single stage with a known number of characters. So
Hey
Cool.
Trevor, why can't I wall jump after up special?
Because there's ledges. Next question.
There you go.
We've got. Were there?
hey,
any
wait.
scrap-
I will say I've put some kinks because everyone right now it's been a little bit of like when I was at Heatwave too, people were like asking me, and I said our defense, and then they asked more questions, and I was like, you gotta talk to Trevor. But there was kinks because last time we were talking about something. We were talking about I forget. It's something special, and I was like, wait, what
Crag.
if? Oh yeah, Crag
Crag.
can when you pillarless, right?
Mhm.
Well, you already set that up, so that was a first little crack in the dam of Trevor. No up special.
There's
Wall.
multiple
So
characters
Crag,
that can do it.
if you shield up B, we let you wall jump out of that because it's kind of like a canceled up special. But then I was like, well, do we foresee a world on like Zetterburn where as long as you go like you don't go up at all, and we're not at that stage yet, but there's some like gears turning of like, wait, if you don't go up, if you use the move to go down, could you wall jump? So right now you can't, even on Zetterburn special. But I don't know. I think, we'll see how Genesis goes. I think we gotta just tweet at Trevor, Be like, hey Trevor, would it be cool if ...
Yeah. Don't get your hopes up. That's all I'll say.
But I think the Crag one is opening. It opens like some small doors because Crag's is setting precedent that, hey, if it's a canceled up special, you can still wall jump after it.
Yeah. So I do see a lot of questions that actually would fall under our frequently asked questions. Like we have stuff that talks about mod workshop support and platforms and stuff like that. So I'll make sure to post that around. We're gonna put this on YouTube and stuff like that, and I'll make sure those answers are up there. We don't have a ton of time left, I think, so I'll try to ask some questions. I don't want to skip those questions, but we have answered them before, so I'll post those, and then I'll answer some new ones, or ask some new ones. So here's one from someone on Discord that's asking, will Aether forms of stages make a return? Not necessarily at launch, but just they thought they were in need, and what's our plans for that?
No current plans.
Yeah, they are not on the to-do list right now. Well, I do like the appeal, especially from playing with friends. Like I think Aether stages are really fun. It is in terms of development, like to make the good ones, it's a good amount of like kind of prop VFX, even gameplay mechanics that we would need to hook up. So we didn't want to, we didn't want to do it if it was going to be like bad, right? If it was gonna be half baked, like we wouldn't want like Fire Capital Aether form, for example, in Rivals 1, where it just has the wall. We wouldn't want to make like a bunch of those. We want them to be more fun and interactive, kind of like the more like the plant from Treetop Lodge. So no, it's not on our to-do list, but that's another one where depending on kind of what the fans want and where it's at, I could see us prioritizing it and moving it up, but we do not even have it, on our like kind of like our long-term roadmap right now.
Yeah, I've got another tough question that's long-term, but people are wondering this, like on the same lines of Aether stages. How they want to know how will future stages be added, and in general, like how are we planning on doing content? Is there going to be battle pass? Is there going to be something else?
Cool, that's a great question. So the content one, I think we're going to have a little bit more news on kind of how we plan the game to expand, kind of closer to launch, like how we expect it to work. I think the only thing we've kind of talked about in the Kickstarter is that the game is going to be paid. Right now we're looking at $30. It will be on Steam. I think we did mention too, like depending on how much stuff we're able to kind of squeeze in for launch, maybe it would be a little higher, but the plan is 30. And then the other plan is that there will be paid skins, right? So like Rivals 2 will have its own in-game shop. So not something that Rivals 1 did not have, right? Rivals 1, all of the skins were handled kind of outside the game, right? You could even like use Steam to turn your DLC on and off, right? So the skins unlock or don't unlock. So Rivals 1 or Rivals 2 will have a shop inside, and you'll be able to purchase skins. There's also going to be some skins you just unlock. So going back to Rivals Direct, what was that 2, the milestone system? There will be some skins where they're free, but you got to earn it. So there'll be both. There'll be skins you unlock, skins that you can use real world money to get. And then in terms of like characters and stages, we'll be announcing kind of how we want that to work going forward. But the caveat I can say is like we are a competitive game, right? So we don't want a situation where you play the game a couple years in and you don't you like have to either give us like a bunch of money piecemeal or you're not having access to most of the content. Like that's not what we want. So we want to have a way where everyone can be competitive, but we just aren't kind of announcing that yet.
Are there gonna be battle passes?
As of right now, no like battle pass where it's like the season pass or anything like that. One thing that is in our design doc, which I don't know if we've mentioned it yet, but I'm okay with mentioning it, is like we're planning like events, right? Which is our idea of like when a new skin gets added, there's like some gameplay tied to it. Yeah, like and either a new cool skin or even like a new
this at all.
Yeah, so a new seasonal thing. So we do want to do something called events where like I think the best example is say Halloween. So Halloween rolls around and an event happens. And there's some Halloween skins are added together, and there's like gameplay that you can do to maybe get additional free goodies, like grinding goodies. But it's not like a battle pass in that you have to kind of like buy it to progress it. It's more like everyone can do it, and then maybe you can go a bit faster if you get the Halloween skin that's part of the event. That is something that we're anticipating. Hopefully that system is good to go for launch. As Matt mentioned, the most important thing is like the actual core functionality. And just being able to get stuff. But we do know that part of our goal of Rivals 2 is we wanted to course correct Rivals 1, where like a lot of the service things we wanted to do in Rivals 1 were really hard because we're in Game Maker, we're using Steam as all of our logic. So we do want to have things that feel a little bit more like an ongoing service, just because that's kind of how our fans interact. That's how we also interacted with Rivals as well. Like if you played back during early access, and especially like the first 2 years after early access, so I would say 2015 all the way to 2020, actually honestly all the way up to when the workshop pack came out, like we kind of treated it like a service, and we tried to make sure we had, it wasn't regularly scheduled updates, but we were updating it all the time, right? Like we were doing balance patches in between content drops, in between new features, new modes. So that's kind of what we want to do on Rivals 2 as well, and make sure like there is fun cosmetics coming out in between bigger updates. So
and we're going to be experimenting with monetization after release. We're going to see what people want, what people like, and we're going to do more of that if it does work. Remember that the better something does, the more developers we can hire, the more characters you get to add to the game, the more features we get to add to the game. So it's hopefully a symbiotic relationship and not a, dangling the nice shiny thing in front of you and making you have to spend more on the game than you'd like. So we're gamers ourselves, and we understand that, this is a delicate balance that we have to adhere to, and we want this to be a fun experience throughout all of it. We want that cool skin to be something that you're excited about, and not something that you dread because you didn't play enough hours or something like that.
Yeah. The other thing too that gets me really excited about skins is one, just when we do testing, and like if you got to see any of the streams from Kickstarter, people playing, just how close, right? Obviously the Rivals 2 camera in gameplay gets a lot closer, but like the result screen, you get to see yourself in your cool skin, do your result animation. That's really fun. And then 2 is the little bit of skins we have revealed, right? So we showed off one for each character in the Kickstarter, and then Garrett, who's our lead concept artist right now, just showed off some concepts on his Twitter for Abyss skins. And just seeing like people's reaction, like the positive reaction to our skins, especially because Rivals is an original IP. So, it's not like the characters don't go as far back as say Smash, right? Like it's a skin for Zetterburn instead of Mario. But just seeing how excited people are to see the skins, that's really exciting to me because we have like a lot that we've been working on, you know, over the last couple years now, and I think they're really cool, and it's really satisfying when like, you know, fans are agreeing that they're cool. So I think just skins in general is going to be like a lot bigger piece to the puzzle in Rivals 2 than Rivals 1, because we can do more and they're 3D, and just because they're a lot more fun to engage with, right? Like the Rivals characters only took up a small percent of the screen and the skins were pixel art. So even the redraw ones like Tuxedo Rano, even though it was very detailed for us to make that, I think like the value of a skin feels to me a lot better in Rivals 2.
Cool. George?
Character or skin modding. It's been asked this a couple times. Will there be a way to with character models utilizing textures? They ask, will there be a way to possible mod in custom skins similar to what Rushdown Revolt has done?
So, Workshop was very successful for Rivals of Aether, and it's something that is high on our list of post-launch features. Custom skins and all of that kind of fall into the same bucket. It's not something we are going to put time towards before release, but we know how it's really shaped our community in such a positive way, and it's a very important feature for our brand. We want it. It's going to be really hard to do in 3D, like really, really hard to do in 3D. So we've got a lot of experimenting and exploration to do before we get there. But we know how cool that is. We know how important it is, and we want it. So it's on the list. We'll get to it when we can.
All right. Question for Diego. Since made him join the stream. I was like, we got to find one.
That's me.
All right. Here's a question. It says Zetterburn has an extra finger. Can we expect Zetterburn to lose one of his too many fingers before launch?
Oh, I wish. That will be less finger animation to do.
No,
That's
Diego
part of why
already
Workshop's gonna be hard. You gotta animate all those fingers, animate all that hair.
We actually
you already animated that finger. We're not getting rid of it now. You know, we're not.
Oh no, not Zetterburn. No.
Yeah.
All future characters will have one digit.
We did have a more serious question. I just saw that one on Discord, which was funny. But we had people asking about like, hey, is there any characters that we've ported over, like from Rivals 1 and Rivals 2? I guess we don't want to talk about any future characters either, but like, is there anything that when you were having to make this from 2D to 3D, you were like, how the heck am I going to do this? Or was it all just kind of standard? Because the animations look really nice, so I think they came out really well.
It was mostly straightforward. Just the Rivals 1 animations had a lot of thought already put into them. But there is a lot of cheating you could do with 2D and pixel art. Like proportions and the way people turn like 180 degrees in like one frame. It's like what? What? I remember Rano's fair in Rivals 1 just pops down like from all the way pointing up all the way down over a frame, and that's how we had it at first, and it was completely broken, or like at least looked broken in 3D. So we had to add in some frames there to be able to move that 180-degree arc so quickly and still feel like a fast attack.
It's not porting, it's recreating. There is no port. There is no
hand animated after the fact.
I remember somebody asking me that at PAX or something. It's like, do you just like, port the animations over? And then I was like, explain. I was like, at first I was like, can you explain how that would work? And they're like, I don't know, like you put it in the computer and it just like converts the pixel animation to 3D.
Increase the graphics by holding X.
I was like, if you invent that, we will use it. It would probably be, the data would be completely garbled. It'd be so funny.
There's a drop-down menu. You could just pick 3D instead.
George, I gotta go.
I was gonna say, let me pause this for a second. Matt has to leave. Thank you, Matt. I'm gonna. Goodbye. Okay.
And then we'll wrap up. Let's wrap up in 15. So we'll go.
Oh no. He left the call and broke our cameras. That's okay. I've set up a different scene to hide that. I'll fix that.
Whoa.
Oh, that's perfect.
There we go. But yeah, I think we should wrap up in general. But we'll answer a few more.
I guess some more of the Discord ones, since we did collect a lot of them, and we
Yeah.
could do.
I went through a few, and a few of them we actually they were a lot of common questions that we asked. Here's
Yeah,
a
we
good
could
one.
answer some on Discord too. Honestly.
Oh yeah, that's. I think we're gonna go through and make sure they're all answered on Discord. So that's why
Yeah,
I wasn't
yeah,
so
yeah.
worried about answering them here. But
All right, cool.
here's one that says, "What tools are you implementing for content creators?" We could talk about some of the cool stuff we're doing, maybe with camera tools, and what our ideas are for that.
Yeah, let's let Trevor talk about that, because that's another one of like, with Matt's point of, we have a lot of cool stuff we want to do, but for launch, core
Yeah.
is more important. But what do we have time for? What do you think we're gonna be able to kind of get in for launch or soon after launch for
Like,
content
for-
creators?
Yeah. So basically, content creator tools are something we actually are focusing on a little earlier, just because they help us make the trailers.
Mhm.
So, we like to have some sort of camera, like, oh, what is it called? Like keyframe stuff in replays, so you can, make cool videos with your replays. It's not something that is finished at any point, and I don't know if it'll make it into release, but I'm hoping it will.
Yeah, so Kel's on our team has been massive for this.
Mhm.
Kel's we hired over a year ago now as our kind of video social role that we we actually posted I remember the job posting to Twitter over a year ago, and it was by far our biggest application list ever. We had a lot of people, not just video editors, but the role was also social, so a lot of people being like, I have 10,000 followers on TikTok, and that's why I should be your person. But Kel's ended up being awesome, because not only really good video or tons of video experience, but also just tons of melee experience, and even now programming too, like getting into the video or the camera tools with Trevor. So the way I want to do it is, I don't mind as long as it's functional, right? As long as it's not crashing. Whatever Kel's and Trevor are working on, we want to have it in the game, right? Even if we have to slap the word beta onto it so people don't get mad if it's a little finicky. Anything that they're using, we want to expose it. It might just be a little, it might just be a little work, or you might have to have like a little bit of knowledge to get some of the things set up. But like, for example, the two ones that I think we get the most use out of is like, being able to make a custom camera in a replay that can move from point A to point B. That's something like that would be massive. And then also the being able to step through a match and then save the replay. So like in training mode in Rivals, like you can go frame by frame. Right now in Rivals 2, you can go frame by frame, like to make something, to like, I don't know, make a clip or machinima or whatever you want to do, save the replay, and then put a custom camera on top of that. Those two things I would love to be able to get for launch if we can. Anything else, it's going to be, we'll try to squeeze it in, and we'll try to react to what creators want. But it'll be like a time thing. But yeah, I would love to, anything that like Trevor mentioned that we're using, I would love to be able to get it in creators' hands as well.
Awesome. All right. Maybe like a couple more, and then we'll say goodbye. There is a question that keeps coming up about Rivals 1 stuff that we've kind of answered, but I'll just answer because I see it a lot, is what's our tournament support going to be like for Rivals 1 and workshop and stuff following Rivals 2. We're definitely going to be switching to Rivals 2 is like our next iteration of the game, and where we're moving towards. Like, that's going to get almost all of our development support and that kind of stuff. But Rivals 1, we still always want to have it at the same events, so we'd like to still run it basically as a side event. Rivals 1 and workshop, depending on like the space, the setups we have, the brackets, that kind of stuff, we'd like to run it, but I think you'll really see Rivals 2 will be the focus of like future kind of league stuff. Like you get points for Rivals 2, not for Rivals 1, right? You'd see Rivals 2 maybe on the big stage, but not Rivals 1. But Rivals 1 is still its own game, obviously, with its own like fans, and we like that a lot. And so we're gonna try to run it as a side event, basically.
Yeah, I think in terms of priority, so like obviously if it's our event or like we're heavily involved, so something like Genesis, we consider that our finals. Something like Riptide, we work with Aaron a lot, and we prioritize that event. We're gonna try to get as much, as many brackets as makes sense, right? Like we're not gonna have everything. But my priority order would be Rivals 2 singles is the most important. Then I would probably say Rivals 1 singles, right? So if we were at an event where we're only going to have 2 brackets, it would be those 2. Then I would put Rivals 2 doubles under that. Then I would put Workshop singles. Then I would put Rivals 1 doubles. So basically what that means is when Rivals 2 comes out, Rivals 1 doubles brackets are probably just completely gone. I don't think we're going to be running any Rivals, because Rivals 1 in itself will be a side event, right? So we're probably not going to be running Rivals 1 doubles. But I think if we can, like, I envision if we have like a finals for Rivals 2 and, George is there, SPS is there, I'm there. We're definitely going to be running Rivals 1 singles as long as we have the computers and the space and everything. But yeah, I would rank them like that. I mean, I love doubles and I think it's a lot of fun, and I hope we can run doubles for Rivals 2. But I definitely think if you like doubles, then make sure you're entering it at Genesis if you're going for Rivals 1, because that will probably be the last time we run Rivals 1 doubles, potentially, will be this Genesis.
Yeah, and it all comes down to just, normally we're like Dan was saying too, like we're a portion of an event, not like our own whole event. So, it depends how much stage time we have and space and all that. But we'll do our best to keep it there, because it makes sense to us too. So
yeah, and if you like doubles, I will say I think Rivals 2 doubles is going to be a lot of fun. And one reason is because we test doubles a good amount. I mentioned last week when we did our online test, we were playing 4-player and we were doing doubles because obviously, and the way that Trevor kind of made sure he designed the new specials, where a lot of them are situational, right? Like the special get-ups, mostly just special get-up and ledge special, because special pummel, that doesn't get any stronger in doubles, unfortunately. But ledge special and special get-up are a lot stronger because there's so much going on that people can't really like manage everything. So having something like Rasters kill ledge special all of a sudden becomes a lot more viable when people are either distracted or getting hit into it. And I just think it's so much fun. I mean, I love using Krag's get-up or ledge special in doubles as well. So like having more moves that are more viable when there's chaos, I think is really exciting. So I think Rivals and just having a shield, I think improves doubles a lot, because I really love playing Rivals of Aether doubles, but it's tough, right? It can be really hard, especially like 2v1 when you're down can be really tough without a shield. So yeah, just having kind of more defensive mechanics, I think, is fun for doubles too.
Yeah, personally, I love doubles. Okay, maybe the last question. This one's from Discord. Why is it called Rivals 2 and not Rivals of Aether 2? Why?
Mouthful.
They're angry. They want to know.
We talked about this a bit, but I'll share it again. So yeah, so the name is right now Rivals 2, and then people are like, oh, it's just a temporary name, because we have said that, like, we're not sure. So right now we're working with our team to make sure, like, if we can just call it Rivals 2, like that's what we're gonna call it. Obviously, there's a lot of people asking, hey, like that's not as recognizable as Rivals of Aether, and you have Creatures of Aether, and you have Dungeons of Aether, so that's the brand. One reason we opted for just Rivals 2, Trevor said it's a mouthful. I mean, Rivals of Aether 2, I think, is kind of long. And, we know, for example, people are just going to call it Rivals 2. So that was part of it. But also, we see the brand. So the brand is still Aether, right? We're still Aether Studios. The whole IP is still, of Aether. But, like, Rivals is the platform fighter part of our brand, right? So anything that's platform fighter like a competitive platform fighter is Rivals. That's how we viewed it. Because initially, when we first started coming up with ideas, this game in the very first design doc, I think that Trevor and I had, was called Champions of Aether, was the name of this game, right? And we left it for a while. I would say for like, I don't know, maybe a year, maybe 6 months. It just sat at that.
Yeah.
And then we started talking about, okay, if the game's called Champions of Aether, what does that mean? And then we're like, well, what are people going to call it, right? Because no one's going to call it Champions of Aether. Yeah,
No.
yeah. That's what got Trevor, was like, what are you going to do? You're going to play champs or you're going to play Rivals?
Play some champs.
Yeah. And also,
Yo, let's champs later.
and also, if people just called it Champions, there were games at the time. And there are still games that like Champions is like a major word in it, or like Bloodline Champions and other games had come out. So we were like, I don't know if we want Champions to be like the main word. So then we went on like, okay, what else of Aether could it be? And then we were like, well, Rivals is like what people call Rivals 1. So like we really wanted to keep Rivals in. So then we went the path of
shortened it. Yeah.
Yeah, then we went the path of like really long titles. So we were like Rivals 2 Champions of Aether. And then we were like, yeah, there's a colon in there. Yeah, of course. And then we were like Rivals of Aether 2 Champions. And then all variations of that, just combine, just basically take Rivals, take Aether, take Champions, and just keep flipping around. We obviously also a mouthful, and also what people are going to call it. So there is this idea that even if the game's called Rivals 2, we kind of want to do like a subtitle in that as the game evolves, like the story and even like potentially the UI and stuff is going to evolve with it. Even if that's not in the actual game name listing. I think I'm trying to think of long running games that did this. I would say like, I think Apex Legends, which I don't actually play. I'm terrible at shooters, but I know like when they do an update, they kind of theme their season around something. And then yeah, MMOs do this where they have an actual, the Frozen Throne for World of Warcraft or the Burning Crusade. So we do want to kind of keep that around. So the first quote unquote theme for Rivals is still going to be, Champions of Aether. So you could call it Rivals 2 Champions of Aether is still the semicolon. But in terms of like the store listing, if we can just have it be Rivals 2, we would prefer that. But ideally that Champions evolves, right? So we do have like some other subtitles ideas of like, hey, once, we get more content and there's more characters, now it's no longer Champions, it's something else of Aether. But it's always, Rivals 2 is the first bit. So that is where we are at now. So we went from combining all those words, making really long titles, trying different words. We were like, what else fights? Disagreeers of Aether? Yeah.
Squabblers of Aether?
I'm a fan of Squabblers of Aether.
We did penguins where every character was just turned into a penguin of Aether. We couldn't do that though, because I just hate penguins so much.
I think also no one knows Aether is a real word, like the ether, but people just don't know how to spell it. They're like, what did you say? Like at PAX, you're like Rivals of Aether. They're like, Rivals of Either what? This or that? Either or? So,
they call it Aether.
Yeah. But
yeah.
There's a lot of good reasons we're thinking about it. But yeah, it does get weird.
I will say the argument I've seen people say is like, hey, it's too generic and I didn't even know this was a Rivals sequel when it gets like posted somewhere. I think that is that's very valid feedback, and I think it's fair. I think our goal is like, it's
got the number 2 in it.
Well, we're ambitious, right? So like we from the get-go said like, hey, we want to, set this foundation to be something that grows. Like we want this game to really be really big. So we were kind of inspired by like Dota 2, where like what is Dota? Like what is that word if you don't know it? And then 2, obviously it was a sequel to Dota, but it's not technically right. So it's not Defense of the Ancients 2. It's actually just Dota 2, right? That's what they put it as. Like I don't know if they have the rights to Defense of the Ancients 2. Anyway, that's kind of another area we inspired where we're like, hey, if we hit our goals and we get the game at the size that we want. I think that whole thing of it being too generic won't matter as much, because then the word Rivals and like Rivals 2 will be associated with Rivals of Aether. But obviously the game has to do really well for us to to claim a very common English word to associate it with us. But maybe we can do it.
All right, thank you. I think that's always a fun question, and that was a good answer. All right, so everyone, thank you very much for tuning in. I think we got most of the unique stuff, and if we didn't get your question, I might have skipped it because I already know it's on Discord, and I will go through and probably lock the Q&A channel just so all those little forum threads are there, and we'll put some answers in there for you guys. So we'll make sure you guys know everything that you want to know. Yeah, at the end of this, we'll do a Twitch apps giveaway. It's the last thing. We'll do that right here. I'll probably pull like 5 winners, and then yeah, Dan, Trevor, Diego, anything you'd like to say?
Nope.
No, super
Thanks
good.
for watching.
Yeah. I saw people saying that they want us to play a best of one. I would say, I think going forward, as we obviously right now you have a lot of stuff on our plates getting ready for Genesis and some of the online tests, but we do want to have some video streams that are ideally mostly for kind of like the backers, right? So like we mentioned, like the behind the scenes Kickstarter. So there might be some streams that, like, the people who backed it, who got access to the Discord will get links to. George and stuff will have, like, we'll announce before if we're doing anything. But yeah, I would love to have some gameplay, and yeah, kind of, especially maybe after Genesis, we'll be doing some more stuff like that.
I think that's when the first stuff would start. Yeah, after Genesis, which is in the middle of February. But yeah, some private streams and backer stuff on Discord in general too, where we can show you guys, hey, here's some concept art before everyone else sees. Here's like a question for you. People don't get to answer unless they're a backer, stuff like that.
Yeah, and if the betas aren't on fire exploding, then yeah, maybe we'll get some devs just doing matchmaking and streaming as well, so you can try to stream snipe us and hang out and things like that. So that'd be fun.
I would do that.
Cool. Okay, I was about to sign us off, but one last question someone asked: can I still become a backer? Yes, we mentioned this in our latest backer post. We are going to allow late pledging at some of the lower tiers, and so our surveys are going to come out very soon, and that's going to also launch that new page where you can late pledge. I know it was over the holidays. We debated about this a lot because the Kickstarter is only 1 month, and we want to make sure like that people that backed us, it's really timely, and we need the support then, and it's great. But people also couldn't always add stuff over the holidays, stuff like that. So we're gonna do like a limited late period for some rewards, and then probably just allow late backing all the way until the game comes out. Kind of how like the early access originally worked, where you could buy the game all the way before the full launch date.
Right, to get like the Game Boy skins.
Yeah, you got like the early access skins. So our version of that with Rivals 2 on the Kickstarter is the retro skins, which you can see on the page. And yeah, we're gonna do something similar where there's still unique stuff for the backers, but there's a way to get involved, and we'll be announcing all that pretty soon.
Yeah, and then there will still be things that are Kickstarter exclusive, so not everything is going to go over. Like, obviously, there's the Kickstarter reward, which right now we are leaning towards it being a respawn platform, like a custom one. So when you come back after, you got KO'd, what you're standing on, that kind of stuff is only, in the Kickstarter, right? So like some of those rewards are not going to be part of the late pledge, but yeah, like George mentioned, some of the lower ones we want to make sure people still have a chance to pick them up if they weren't labeled as like exclusive in the Kickstarter.
Cool. Okay, I will DM the winners their Twitch appsas, and that's it for today. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah, thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you.